Alright, so we are back for another fun day with the STI. Now, I made a purchase off of 541 Motorsports of buying just a second cluster, just a second dash cluster, so I could tear this apart and learn from this one, to see what I need to keep from this, what I don't need to keep, if I can like put the motherboard or the circuit board in a small box, shove it behind the dash or something like that, because I need to retain that stock cluster for the charging system in the car. Now, alternatively, iWire, which are saints in the wiring world for Subarus, came out with a recent blog post showing the charging system, how to bypass the cluster and things of that nature if you were to go the route of deleting a cluster like I am. So if this idea that I have fails, we have that to fall back on. The only thing with that is I don't understand diodes and resistors all that well to be able to do that properly, so that's going to take me a little bit of research. Plus, with that, I also got all the stuff to be able to build the oil cooler, so we can go ahead and get that done in this video as well. I need to start up the STI again after we do all of this dash stuff with the cluster to verify that our charging system still works and that our alternator is actually charging the battery and the car is running off of the alternator and not just the battery, because obviously if we don't have an alternator, the car's not going to function. Because if you didn't know, the car doesn't run off the battery, it runs off the alternator. The battery's just there to really start it and use auxiliary power when the car's not running. So let me show you guys like all this extra stuff that they sent me that I have absolutely no use for, and I didn't know they were sending me. So I only paid for this. That's what I thought I was buying when I bought this, because this is all I needed. They also sent me every single ECU, the BIU, all of the electronics to essentially, if I wanted to, take all of mine out, put all of these in, and make the car work. And with that, they sent me the steering shaft, the keys, and everything like that. So I've got a spare key now if I really want to program it. But big thing for me that I'm going to start with right now is kind of dissecting this. So you can take these clusters apart. I don't know what's inside of this. I see a motherboard right there. So the main thing that I want to try to figure out with this is, can I take that display screen out that's in there and move it? Because that display screen shows the DCCD settings for the car. DCCD with our STI still works. So if I can retain DCCD 100% and just move the little display screen, I'm going to do so. So let's start off by trying to tear this thing apart, seeing what's inside of it, and then kind of go from there. See that little battery light right down there, which I don't think you get. That little battery light is what we need. We just need to complete that circuit and our charging system will work. So let me start tearing this thing apart. Alright, so first of all, I think I'm gonna get this screen out. And I think in theory it should just kind of come right out. So we got our plastic cover off, we've got our gauges here. Oh god, okay, no, stop. Oh dear lord, what have I done? Okay, what can I take off? This black shroud can come off next, which is also just some more of these plastic tabs. Alright, no, we're good, we're solid. So we've got these guys off. I legitimately have no idea what I'm doing right now. Okay, so something is keeping these together. What is it? What is holding these two components together? I really don't think I'm gonna be able to move this DCCD screen now that I see how it's connected with this ribbon. I think this is gonna throw a fit if I plug this in with mine. Maybe, I'm not 100% sure, just because it's not VIN'd to my ECM, so it might. But before I try to like completely yeet this thing apart, I'm gonna try shoving this back behind the dash with it plugged in, obviously, and seeing what exactly happens. Because if that's the case, I can just literally shove this guy right back there. Oh, that literally shot off. Two. That off. Stop beeping at me. Door. Okay. So my factory one is out. What's going to happen? So it says my door is open. Lift gate. What happens if I go to turn it on? Okay, this cluster has 58,000 miles on it. Yeah, I can just give myself a full tank of gas right now if I wanted to, man. Just kind of push that up. I got a full tank of gas! Something along these lines works. Okay, so that plan is scrapped. Let me think on this for a second. Alright, you guys, so it's the next day. To give you a little update on this whole gauge cluster situation, I don't understand electronics enough and circuit boards enough to be able to figure out how to bypass this cluster. So I think the smartest idea for us is to make a jumper harness that extends out the stock cluster wiring and relocate the cluster somewhere else in the car. If we're being honest, I just don't understand how diodes, circuit boards, resistors, I don't get it. Like, I can build an engine harness, but going to the extent of trying to reverse engineer a circuit board is beyond me. And I was trying to do it last night. I was trying to figure out, and I was just getting frustrated doing it. I pulled up the wiring diagram for the charging system. This is what it looks like, and it makes absolutely no sense to me. The generator wire goes into a fuse, then from that fuse it goes into the instrument cluster, and then from there it goes into like a drive circuit, and somewhere inside the drive circuit is the charging light, and I don't know how to bypass that. If we look at a diagram from like an 04 STI, like this is from a write-up that iWire did, it's very clear on what you need to do. There's one wire going into the charging light, one wire going out of the charging light, and it tells you what those wires are. On ours, because it's so much newer and it's so much more complex, I don't know how to decrypt it, and I don't know how to decode it. So for us, best case scenario, we're just going to go ahead and relocate the cluster somewhere else. This is the best case scenario for us right now. And let me say, the cluster isn't stopping us from tuning the car. That's not one of the factors that's stopping us from going and tuning this. The big thing is just that intake manifold. So I have all the stuff for the oil cooler at this point, so I think we're gonna jump on the oil cooler first this morning to get that worked out, and then I'll go back and I'll start playing with the electronic side of things for that cluster and start extending that harness out. So let's figure out where I'm gonna put this thing and then start building some brackets for it. I also have the resonator out for delivery for this car, so I may weld that into the exhaust today. I can weld steel a lot better than I can aluminum, so we'll hope that goes better. So let's start out with the oil cooler this morning. Alright, so let me give you guys like the idea of what we're doing here. So I made some brackets for this. This one was a test bracket out of just some cheap aluminum that I had. Not the final bracket. The final one I just rebent over there. But we're going to go ahead and mount the oil cooler right here. On this bracket that I made, I'm going to weld on 2 tabs on the back side of it. Those tabs will go up, and we're just going to put some riv nuts into this support bar here, and that'll keep the top portion there. I went ahead and I bent the bracket a little bit longer than needed, so that way I could put rubber isolators in there just to absorb some of the vibration, so that way we're just not beating the shit out of this oil cooler. And then for this bottom portion, I think I'm going to cut this bracket on this side off. On this side, I'm going to make a support that goes up to this lower frame here. The oil cooler itself isn't any lower than any other portion of the car, so we should be totally fine. I also test fitted, it does clear the bumper, which is the other thing I was concerned about. So let's keep making some brackets. Let's get this thing bracketed up. have no idea how I'm gonna do the bottom bracket. The top one's just fine, but if I just have one, you guys can see it's a little wobbly. So I need to find a way to be able to support the bottom of this oil cooler over to this brace over here. And I can't think of a good way to do it. Like, I'm gonna keep playing with it. I cannot find a good way to support this thing on the bottom side of it. The top side was easy, because that was just doing it right there. And then I tried making like a little U piece to like try sliding in there and whatnot, which I still may do. I'm not 100% sure on that yet. But it's like, fuck, dude. Making a full custom oil cooler kit sucks because it's not as easy as just bolting it up like I've done on other cars, because we have to hang it and do all this other stuff to get it up and out of the way. But I'm gonna keep going on that. I have good news. First of all, some of you guys were complaining about how loud and raspy the car sounds. I totally agree. So I got a Vibrant Performance 4-inch in-out resonator, so that way we can try to get that on there. One downside, I don't know if we can run a resonator. Like, there's not a whole lot of clearance between that exhaust and the drive shaft up there. I know it's kind of dark, I do apologize, but we don't have a whole lot of clearance up there, guys, so I don't know if I can actually run a resonator down here safely without totally destroying our drive shaft. And in other news, our new intake manifold is done. So here's a fun couple of pictures of it. Now this one, as you guys can see, it looks a lot more airflow friendly. It still has the mounting options for the coil packs on the bottom side of the manifold. It's a detachable plate, so if we need to, we can totally take it off, put it back on, do whatever we need to do. On top of that, you guys can see on the back side of that manifold right there, we have multiple NPT ports. So there's a couple 1/8 and I believe a couple 1/4 inch ones back there. But this thing looks gnarly. I am excited to get this intake manifold on the car. Should be back in our hands early next week. And then from there, we're gonna have to redo this front charge pipe section that goes from the intercooler up to the new intake manifold. I know he offset the throttle body placement a little bit, so that way it'll clear the alternator and everything like that. So I'm very excited. Mucho excito. All right, let me keep figuring out this oil cooler because I have no idea what I'm doing with it. Yo, I legit don't think this could be any more perfect. So, oil cooler's all mounted up. It's pretty sturdy too. So, this is actually an APR support rod for the splitters or the diffusers that you guys get. And you know what? I finally found a use for one. They work beautiful for mounting up oil coolers when you need a support. Shout out to Riker for coming up with that idea. He suggested one of the long carbon fiber ones, but we have these, and these are a little bit shorter for what we were doing here. So this works beautiful. Like the oil cooler itself, it's freaking sturdy, you guys. It's not going anywhere. So now that the oil cooler, dude, this took so long. This took me like an entire day to figure out how I wanted to mount this. Like learning to fabricate takes some time. Like I'm pretty happy with the welds and everything I did up there. I think I still want to do one more support. Do I need to? I still might do one more support piece from that bracket up to the where the battery tray used to be, but dope. Now, here's the thing, I still can't do the lines because I totally spaced on one thing that I need, and that is silicone heat sleeving for the lines that run under the car. Because we're running them under the car, we're gonna run them underneath of the fans, right in front of the exhaust manifold, and I don't want to overheat those oil lines. So I'm gonna have to order some silicone sleeve for that stuff. I totally spaced on that, I didn't even think about it, but you know, the hard part's done, and that is finding a spot and mounting the core. This is the smaller core that I ended up ordering, and it fits absolutely perfect. I think I'm gonna cut this bracket right here off of the core since it's not being used anymore. But dude, 10 out of 10 on this. Clears the bumper beautifully, clears the tire. Dude, I'm like, that's good. That's solid right there. And when I put a fender liner back in there, it's not gonna get in the way of the fender liner. I did have to put a riv nut into the frame over here just to be able to get that splitter rod to actually go into the frame. And I had using, what is it, the little Allen head bolt guys, but dude, I love it. Let me show you with the bumper on because it's pretty slick with the bumper on too. So if you guys look, you guys can still see the oil cooler from the top right there. All the fittings clear and everything like that. Now, if we wanted to run like the APR brake ducts or something, the oil cooler is right there behind the fog light. So it is still in a spot that's going to get air. So maybe I'll do something special with this area down here. I'm not quite sure yet. Very happy with the progress that we made today so far. I'm gonna go get some dinner real quick, come back out here and keep working. I want to try to figure out the gauge cluster thing while I wait for this heat sleeve to come in for these oil lines. So figure it out. I can figure it out, damn it. All right, on to day 3, and yes, I'm wearing the same hoodie because I don't want to dirty another one. So instrument panel cluster thing has been figured out. Got some buddies who are making a jumper harness for me that I'm paying them to do, since I don't understand diodes and resistors and all that stuff. So that is being taken care of. We should probably have that harness here in, I don't know, maybe a week, I'm guessing. The intake manifold shipped out this morning, so that should be here early next week to mid next week. So all good things. The last thing to do once we get that intake manifold back is rework this one charge pipe right here to be able to obviously fit with the new manifold. We're going to relocate the blow-off valve away from the dipstick tube, just so that way we can obviously check oil without having to take out an entire pipe. Good stuff. So I guess this video is more or less dedicated to the oil cooler, which is totally fine by me. It's something I've been needing to do. I'm actually going to remove this strut tower brace too. It's just a little too close for comfort for me, right near my map sensor right there, and it's not worth it to me to relocate the map sensor again and redo wiring and whatnot, because I know it works. So it's easier just to remove that bar. I've got it posted up for sale on Instagram right now if any of you guys do want that thing. So let me get that bar off, and then let's start making some oil lines. I don't know if I have all the fittings needed for the oil lines, so we're gonna see what we can do. But hey, pretty happy with that oil cooler spot still, so let's get into it. Dude, I swear, if it's not one thing, it's something else. The oil sandwich plate that I got to be able to get the oil to and from the engine to the oil cooler, it was mislabeled for the oil inlet and outlet ports on the website I bought it from. I just called the company. Luckily, it sounds like they're taking care of it. I just need to send them a couple photos of this. But now I need a new sandwich plate because, well, the threads are all boogered up now, so that's fun. Oh, dude, I swear, dude, if it's not one thing, it's something else. They felt fine going in up to a certain point, and then they just bottomed out, and they were like, yep, this is not tight. So on the website for this MoCal sandwich plate, where I bought it from, they have this inlet and outlet port labeled as 1/2" NPT. So I bought 1/2" NPT to -10. Turns out this is actually M22 to -10. So I need to send this one back. They're going to send me a replacement one. I could probably make it seal, but you know, if we're doing, I'm not gonna like cut corners, do anything like that. If we're gonna do everything, we're gonna do it all right. So that sucks. I'm gonna hop back under the car, get our oil filter tightened back up to the engine, get it wiped down, and then I guess I'll start by making the oil cooler lines from the cooler somewhere over there and just get them cut to somewhat length, and then we'll actually like plumb them up once we get that new sandwich plate in. Kind of sucks. It's partially my fault. I should have done a little more digging into this sandwich plate, but when the one time I read the product description, it screws me, so it is what it is. So we will get our oil filter screwed back up, and then we'll just make some rough lines from this cooler over here over to where they're going to go down there. Well, if we didn't have the sandwich plate, the oil cooler would be done, but got the lines mocked up and cut up with the fittings put on the ends that go to the oil cooler over here. So you guys can see there's just a straight fitting coming off of this one, a 90 coming off of the top. These route down underneath of the car. We're gonna put heat sleeve over all of these, and we're gonna get them up to that radiator shroud up there away from the exhaust manifold here, and then they'll wrap around and go to the oil filter there, where we're going to have our adapter plate to be able to feed oil from the car over to our oil cooler right here. So that's all I got for you guys on this one. We didn't get as much done as I wanted to, but a lot of good came out of this video. A, we found one problem that was going to be an issue, which was that sandwich plate. B, we got the instrument cluster thing figured out. We just need to get the plug and play adapter harness at this point. C, our intake manifold is done and is shipping back. The only real thing left that we have to do before we can go tune the car now is that charge pipe. As soon as that intake manifold comes back, I will attempt to weld the charge pipe. I don't know how successful I'll be. If not, we'll figure something out. I'm not too concerned about it. So very, very excited. The car is 98% ready for the dyno at this point. So it's just the small stuff, you guys. All the small stuff eats up so much time when it comes to building a car. It is what it is. And shameless plug, if you guys want to be entered into our giveaway for a 500 wheel horsepower capable EJ25 or FA20 DIT short block, you guys know what to do. Go swing over to the website, www.smeedia.net. Snag yourself some merch. Every $25 you guys spend on merch gets you one entry into the giveaway. No cap on the amount of entries, obviously spend within reason though. So with that, That's all I got for you guys. If you like the video, you know what to do. One of these corners, no idea which one if you like the video, you know what to do. Go ahead and hit the like button, turn it black, blue, green, yellow, purple, silver, cyan, whatever color it turns for you. Color of the day today is going to be goldenrod, because I'm feeling a little goldenrod today. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel and you want to be one of these corners, no idea which one I'll put it in quite yet. Oh, and keep an eye out on Flatiron Tuning's YouTube today. Did a podcast with them last week, and I think it goes live on there tonight. So with that, I will catch you guys in the next one. So peace out, homies.